Okay.
Find your single lens on. I'll get out of the film so Smitty can have.
You get the spotlight.
Full camera.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Smith. I'm with the Kingston Police Traffic Safety Unit. We've been graciously invited to come up here to discuss our RPAS or drone program at the Kingston Police. Behind me is our traffic unit truck. We generally use this truck for collision scenes. That's probably the main use of our drones, is in collision reconstruction. So when we have really bad collisions, as part of our collision investigation, we will be flying the drones to take, generally using a mapping mission, to take a bunch of pictures and eventually stitch them together in an orthomosaic and then overlay measurements that we've taken with a GNSS coordinate measuring system, or a total station, or whatever the measuring system is. Overlay those measurements on top of the orthomosaic, and again, those pictures from the orthomosaic are going to come from one of our drones. There is lots of different pieces of equipment in our truck here. Most of it's within the cabinets. A lot of it has to do with measuring and documenting the evidence at the scene of a collision, but we also have other uses for the drones. We often use the drones for missing people, for people that have fled from the police. We do assist outside agencies as well. We work closely with the OPP to assist them in apprehending subjects as well. There's multiple uses of the drone. Recently, we've been searching for missing people in the woods. We've been searching for elderly people that have left their retirement home. The traffic unit. Sorry, the traffic unit does actually have in its possession 3 different drones. We have DJI Avata. I believe it's the first gen. We don't have that with us today. What we do have with us, and we always carry, is the Matrice 300, the M300, which is the large case down on the ground in front of the van. And we also have the DJI M30T, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Full unfolds, put the batteries in, and it's up in the sky in, under a minute, right? Generally, for collision scenes, we would probably be using the M300, which I'll set up in a minute. But situationally dependent, we could be using the M30. The other thing that we can use and have used for several years, both drones for, is safety overwatch. And what does that mean? It means at St. Patrick's Day and at Queen's Homecoming, in the spring and the fall, we will commonly put the M300 up in the air, up 80, 90, 100 meters, and the cameras are very good. The important thing to remember about the safety overwatch is that's just information for all the people that are going to be at the police station to make correct decisions to deploy their person power, right? So we're generally watching streets and how people are moving and how to redeploy the resources. And those decisions are made by a whole host of people at a command center at the police station. And it's not just police, it's fire, ambulance, emergency services, city transit, city works. There's a number of people in that room that collectively make the decision how to deploy resources.
And we see your NOTAMs.
We do get a NOTAM for both St. Patrick's Day and Queen's Homecoming. And depending on the year over year, we do have other agencies that are coming in to assist us. Last homecoming we had OPP here. I think in the spring we had York and OPP. So there's various other agencies. Not only are they supplying person power, like to assist on the ground, boots on the ground, but as well, for instance, the OPP, they have their drone program out. And as well, we've had Toronto Police here with their drones as well. And we kind of divide the airspace up and the height so that we're not coming into conflict in the air. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you gonna fly it?
Yeah, we can fly. Sure. I hear you guys have an SFOC.
Yeah, we do, yes.
Perfect. Love it. All right. Thank you for listening to me. Appreciate it.
So I was talking to the inspector. Some police forces are now being allowed to do enforcement for drones. Is Kingston Police able to do that yet? He said
In
not
what way?
every police force can do that. Can you
Basically take on Transport Canada's role in Kingston and utilize drone pilots for right now?
Yeah, so right now we do have one of our traffic officers that has taken a course and is allowed to, it's generally a ticket, to write to a person that has contravened a certain act. We're planning, hopefully this year, the rest of us are going to be taking a course so that we'll also have that power.
not all police have it?
Not all police have it, no. And it's like anything else. Just because we see a person contravening the law doesn't necessarily mean a person's getting a ticket, right? It's like we're traffic officers. Just because we stop somebody for speeding doesn't necessarily mean they're getting a speeding ticket. We do have the ability to give them a warning and educate, or we can give them a ticket. It's ultimately up to the discretion of the officer.
And that's what this day is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning, talking, interacting. That's great. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
I'm from Arm Prior
Okay.
area,
Yeah.
and I've been flying drones for 5 years.
Cool.
And I have my basic license, so Arm Prior and Calabogie, like kind of uncontrolled airspace.
Okay. Cool.
And I find with the police down there, over the 5 years I've been flying, I've ran into at least one officer every year.
Okay.
Just being curious.
Absolutely.
I find some of them are not fully educated with certain things down in my area because he was questioning me a few things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was telling him, and he was just like, "Oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that." And
Right.
I know they don't have anything, like when I first heard from coming here saying, "Oh, drone police Kingston," I'm like, I didn't know there was one even existed here right now because I'm from Armpire, but we don't have anything in my area for that. But they will stop because I fly a DJI Mavic 3,
Okay.
and they will. I have been stopped, like pulled right behind my vehicle and asked what I'm doing, and I'm taking the video officer, I'm taking photos, this and that.
Yeah.
And they were fine, but they always asked if I had my license.
So,
Right off the bat.
and one thing that I left out earlier is,
Yeah.
so there's the sergeant in the traffic unit, Steve Koopman, which some of you guys know, myself, Greg Smith, Josh Brimble here. We also have some other officers. There's 6 of us in the traffic unit, so 5 constables and a sergeant, and we're all advanced drone pilots. Nice. And what you're mentioning isn't uncommon in policing. We can't, as police officers, know everything there is to know about policing.
Right.
And we happen to know a little bit more about drones, because we do that fairly regularly, but a regular patrol officer, they are probably a little bit uneducated when it comes to drones.
And basically what it was is, because I say, like in Armpire where I live, I was flying at Robert Simpson Park. Of course, I wouldn't go there in the summer. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
People are swimming, but it was November last year, and he told me you cannot fly here. And I said, yes, I can, officer. It's uncontrolled G space. He says, well, what about the airport? And I said to him, I get this question so many times in Armpire. It's Class G, it's uncontrolled. I've called the airport when I first fly 4 years ago. They said if it was from the Manawaska Bridge, where I am from my hometown, towards the river, going down towards Quebec, you're fine. But the airport told me you're going up more, stay away.
You know, and what happens sometimes when people are flying drones, you'll have members of the public come up and they have some misconceptions, and they may be looking at information from the US, or they might have read an article that inaccurately quoted some information, and they say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you need to educate them. And generally what I suggest is just let them know, hey, I'm a pilot in control of an aircraft right now. Give me a minute, I will answer your questions, but give me a minute to bring my aircraft in, land it, and once it's safely on the ground, we can interact. But right now, you're distracting me. Just give me a minute. And let's
well, that's exactly what I did, because when he pulled up, I was outside my Jeep, and I was leaning on the side, and my Mavic 3 was over the Alva River, 800 feet out, and I said, just give me a second to land it, and he was fine, and he was okay, and then he saw me catch it by my hand, he looked at me, and he's like, okay, I think you know what you're doing. Like, you know?
I'll be honest, I've flown all over town. I'm a licensed pilot as well, so sub 250, majority where we're supposed to. And we were flying out in that, and actually, where a bunch of us flew last weekend, between the two air zones, and when we did it about 2 years ago as a group, with the three of us, the OPP show up and tell us to leave because, and they threatened us. But we also didn't think to just say, hey, listen, we know what the laws are, because at that point, like, what's the point of
You know,
potential conflict?
and I'm sorry that you guys have had these.
I'm just going to jump in. Like, so,
Not blaming
you
anyone.
gotta, so yeah, for police, you got to remember, right? Like, so we started here in Kington. We were one of the first ones in 2018, same as Toronto OPP. It depends who the sergeant or whoever was running the programs in the traffic units. Almost all of them started in the traffic units for collision reconstruction, and then kind of just ballooned from there. But you got to remember too, like the Canadian side compared to the U.S., we are years and years and years behind them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to take a long time before more people get aware of it. And then also in regards to, the knowledge base, right? Where, like you guys are knowledgeable about it because you're in this. Right? Same as me. Like I own my own. Right, and that's how I got into it as well, and then also being a part of this. Like we flew, our original one was the Arion Sky Ranger, which that was back in 2018, which was a company out of Waterloo made it. They still make the Sky Ranger. It's now a different model, but then most of us now have kind of moved over into the DJI spectrum. And then there are a couple now, more services are also looking at getting into the Autel and some of the other stuff. And then every year we're getting many messages from other companies that are joining and kind of getting into it, like Brink and I forget the other ones. Yeah, so there's a bunch of new ones that are coming out. Skydio, they're always involved somehow, because I'll say if you ever get to play with one of theirs, it's quite amazing what that can do, especially with it being able to follow. So you got to remember, just when you're dealing with, especially the public, which I will say 95% of the phone calls that we get is from the public, is someone's flying a drone around a window. Right? And usually what it is because now, I will say, the other problem, and this is me personally saying this, is that when you go to Best Buy and you buy a Mini, is there anything there that tells you what the rules are? Absolutely not.
That was a big conversation so far this today. Right?
And I will say in the States, they've changed that. Where in the States, if you go to a lot of the places, you'll walk inside, they have FAA, and it actually tells you what it can and cannot do, and what you can do with
In
it.
Florida, they just changed it so you can shoot drones down.
Yeah. But again, you're
Just
gonna
saying.
go to, yeah. Like, but again, the main thing with it, especially it's Florida. But the main thing with it is that a lot of people don't understand. Right? So if you're flying a Mini,
Yeah,
like I
that
own two of
gimbal's
them.
probably
They're
worth
also
more than
on
this
Mavic
van.
Pro.
And I never seen the
And we have
M30
these,
ever in my
right?
life.
They don't
I've seen
understand that a
I've
Mini,
seen this
like
one
the
doing
majority of the
Overwatch
early
in
ones, they
Ottawa
can't
at a
zoom in.
security
So when they see it
conference.
flying and it's 500 meters away from their house, they think you're zooming in on their dinner plate. Right? They
That's
don't understand.
a 350, right?
This is a 300.
300 M300.
Yep.
From an
Nice.
operational
Wow.
standpoint,
She's beautiful.
what kind of limitations do these have for the kind of, like, so I used to live on Aberdeen Street.
Yeah, I can talk about it.
So
once
I
this is done.
understand the kind of
Makes
So
them
it's
have
that
a
whole
very small.
package also has thermal.
fire you have.
That package actually
That
has
one's
thermal
bigger
with it
than
too,
this
or is
fire.
it
I think.
different?
Yeah, this is
Definitely bigger
all in
than
one.
this fire.
Because
Yeah, so
the
it's-
M30
Thermal.
you have
Yes.
that.
So
We have the thermal.
the sensors on it are very good, but like any DJI product, right?
Oh, so
certain,
this
like, if you have
gimbal
a
is not
cable
thermal?
strung across, it's
Yes,
not
it is.
Okay.
It will pick up sometimes power lines,
This is awesome.
but normally again, right, when we get to a situation, like we do fly a lot of night flying.
Yeah, that's
So the first thing when you get there, now luckily for us, like unless it's an area we've never been before, we know a lot of the areas that we go to. Right. So then I know that there's, like say there's a hydro pump. Well, I know the hydro that's there. Right? And also for us, what we'll do is we'll quickly go on Google Maps and look at the surrounding area and actually see what's there. Right? And then when we get it up in the air,
thought my Mavic
now we
3 is
know
big and
that
that's
if we're
hot.
flying at, let's say, 60 meters, we're usually above the majority of anything that could actually damage this.
I can give you a quick overview of this. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it, but this is the Matrice or the M300. Then they have a newer one now, the M350. This is an RTK, although we don't have the RTK function active on it, so it's the M300 RTK. The payload on it, we just upgraded, so the camera is an H30 camera, H30T I think it's called, made by DJI. Same with the bird, it's a DJI product. Our H20T camera, for some reason, we had some functionality issues. We sent it back for repair to Toronto, and it really wasn't cost effective to repair. So we purchased the M30T just recently, about a month ago. The change that we had to make in order to fly with this new payload is we had to upgrade to the RC Plus controller in order to use the camera. So the RC that came with the M300 isn't compatible with the new payload, which isn't horrible for us, because if you know the difference between the original controller, the RC that comes with the M300, and the RC Plus, it's night and day. The RC Plus is a beautiful remote. It's a 7-inch screen. So I'll show you that. So that's kind of an overview of the RPAS, the drone. Pardon me?
Looking at what,
How much altogether?
for the drone itself, and another 15,000 for the camera.
Probably 35.
So
Black Friday.
So the original one, we got this with the H20T and the batteries and the original controller it came with. This was back in 2020.
Oh wow, 5 years.
Yeah. Wow. So 2020 it was around 53,000. Now, luckily for us, like again, it's the same as your world where like so we're all part of the same world. Right? So you have you guys right with your repair. But we also with other police services like Toronto, we have a really good relationship with both police. We have a really good relationship with UT. So what we can do is we can like say bug the Toronto guys where they're flying all the time. Yeah. And they're also flying downtown Toronto with all the condos and the high rise and all that, and also all the different class airspace, which you basically can't fly anywhere. Right? And that's what they're doing. Right? So we can call, and the officer there is Mike Ramsey, a phenomenal individual. We can call him and be like, hey, what are you guys doing next? Right? Because they're always looking at what's coming. Right? And usually what we can do is a lot of education on them. Same as Ottawa. So the bigger services that usually have some of the bigger budgets, we can see what they're looking at next. And it might be a couple years after, but then we can keep evolving too. And that's prices go down. Prices do, yes. And that's the thing. Like luckily for us, like so we deal with a bunch of. So we used to be Omniview, now it's Honest. So we deal with that.
I got
So we're always in constant contact with them to see what's next.
Imagine how many Mavic 3s I can buy. If mine was $4,000, and that's 53,000.
It was raining this morning, so we weren't really going up. We were sort of slowing down flying. And these guys showed up.
So especially with, and also with us too, same thing as here, is that we might be doing something and then somebody does like luckily for this.
Okay, so somebody did a little switch-out change on me, because we've got now two RC Pluses. We have one for the M300 and we have one for the M30. Somebody flipped them on me just to play with me, so that was my first issue. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but we have a large screen TV in the back of the van that we connect through an HDMI cable. So we can do a live view from the payload, whether it's the FPV camera or the payload camera, the H30T. Transmits from the M300 to the RC out to the HDMI. The other thing that we can do, and this comes into what I was talking about earlier about Overwatch for public safety, we can live stream the video feed from the drone to a command center. And essentially it's through a website. So anybody could view it if they had the proper authorization.
DJI's let you do Facebook and YouTube live.
Oh yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll take off. I'll just hover up maybe 70, 80 meters. I'll show you how the different payloads work. This one actually has thermal. And if you want to see what the camera's seeing, you can watch the video feed. So.
There's some people down there. You want to do thermal? You can see that. That's what they're doing.
So our policy at the Kingston Police, we have the qualified pilot who has to obviously be fit for duty, fit to fly, but we also have a visual observer. So I'll be the pilot. Josh will be the visual observer. So I'm just doing my pre-flight check. So obviously everybody knows you need to check the airworthiness of the drone itself, the RPAS, the DJI remote also goes through a bit of a pre-flight check, plus we do some other software for the live streaming, which logs all of our missions. I'm inputting myself as the pilot and Josh Brimble as the visual observer. You guys have an SFOC, so we're good. All right, props on.
Yep.
Okay, take it off.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got the DJI M300 up in the air. The payload is the DJI M30T camera. It's new to us. We've had it for about a month. There's great improvements. Right now we have the aircraft about 85 meters up in the air above our head. And I've got the HDMI cable plugged into the RC Plus remote, the DJI RC Plus remote, which is feeding to the TV inside of our van. So you can see the way we have it set up currently, we have all what I call the telemetrics. Everything that I see on the RC Plus screen, you're seeing on the TV. We also, if we want, we can actually hook up an additional TV. We have a smaller TV, but we found that the larger one's pretty good. And as I stated before, we could actually live stream this so long as we have a good internet connection. Our van right now, we have a hotspot in the van with a couple of different carrier cards to allow us. Right now, the RC Plus is connected via the Wi-Fi off the hotspot of the van. So if I wanted, I could hit the live stream and I could call Steve Koopman and say, hey Steve, check out the live stream. And it's usually pretty good depending on your internet connection. If you're at a PC in your house with a wired connection, it's going to be seamless. On a cell phone, it could get a little choppy, but that's due to the cellular connection and the streaming and stuff like that. So, right now I am showing everybody, and that's the same that I've got on the screen. I've got the wide angle camera, but I also can put the zoom camera.
Oh, damn.
So right now that's 5, 10,
Nice.
20, 40. So I think this one is 34 optical and 400 digital.
You can launch and have it 15 and read someone's book and, that's the kind of
That's the one that's
Does this have a speaker payload too?
We do have one for the M30. I don't think we have one for this one. So I'm up 82 meters. Let me just take me back up to 85 here. There we go.
Are you able to, with a special emergency, go above the 400 feet or 120 meters?
Now my advanced license takes me to 122 meters or 400 feet AGL, right? I don't know of a way we can get around that. Unless you had an SFOC, even with a Note 10, we shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so I am looking at the folks back there on my wide. We'll go to the zoom. And that is 40 times zoom.
Shit.
Is that your car?
Wow, you don't say that we haven't come inside.
So that's 400 digital. 400 digital zoom.
That's still pretty good.
So how waterproof is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So it is. I think it's IP55. So we've flown that particular drone in every weather you can imagine.
Wow.
don't think it was last year or the year before at homecoming, it actually snowed.
Snow, sleet, no problem.
And that became an issue because we fly from a certain location and we're going over toward the university district, and we had to start coming back because it was a snow squall. But I've flown this in pouring rain, and the image never changes. You would think that the lens would get covered in water and you wouldn't be able to see anything. I've never had the image go. It's always clear. Same with the M30.
Nice. I mean, for that price tag, it shouldn't do that. Right?
Should have its own light.
Yeah.
And what about cold?
Yeah.
Minus 20?
So I think this is good for temperature up to minus 20 Celsius and up to 55 kilometer per hour winds. And I have flown this in 55 kilometer per hour winds, and it's very stable. Although I was searching for a missing person a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was down at Bath Road in Coverdale, which you're from our part, you wouldn't know, but basically in the west end of Kingston.
Yeah.
And I was trying to bring the drone back, and it was flying in a yaw type. It was coming back to me, so I really had, but still no problem. It's very, very strong.
And on an average, finding missing people, how long does it take you on an average?
Depends. Yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
The other thing about it, if you look really carefully on the screen, it actually tells me what wind is. So it's telling me right now that I've got wind southwest at 13.7 kilometers per hour.
So is that at the drone or just?
That's at the drone. It actually knows where the wind is coming from and what the speed of the wind is. The drone gives me a ton of information. The other thing that I'll do for you guys is maybe I'll come back to us here. I'll put the thermal camera on so you can kind of get a.
That's what everybody wants to see. Yeah. See this glowing little spot from the yard.
Okay. Yeah, so we, like most drones, I can control the gimbal, the payload. You know, I can pan and I can tilt. And we could put 2 payloads on here. So we actually have a searchlight that's out for repair. It's coming back shortly. We can synchronize the searchlight in the drone, so we can light up an area at night. So let me just try the infrared. So there's the infrared.
No way.
So that's white hot. So you can see the engine of the truck is white. You can see us moving around.
And that resolution.
Yeah, that's thermal.
Look at this. Oh, you gotta do this.
Yeah, so I can do what they call a side-by-side. So on the left is the thermal, on the right is the zoom camera, and they're synchronized now. So you have to hit a couple buttons, but if I were to move, both images move.
Do you find it hard to do that, or it takes a little bit of...
Yeah, it's practice, right?
Yeah.
It's practice. The other thing you'll see on the screen is the home point in augmented reality, AR. You'll see the H show up, right, behind the van, which is where I took off. The other thing that this can do is it can track people, motor vehicles, and boats. So I've done that on a couple of times. Won't get into details, but I did actually have to track a boat in Portsmouth Harbor once for a certain reason. I won't tell you why, but it comes in handy. For demonstrations, I know I've tracked people before. It's pretty cool. So let me just go.
There's a truck down there, that's the owner.
The suspect is trying to get away.
Suspect.
I don't know. Oh, wrong way.
108, yeah.
Yeah, very clear. There he is. Spot it.
Yeah, so all I have to do is go like this. Draw the circle. And now he's being tracked. So essentially what will happen is
So cool.
The RPAS, the drone, won't move unless I tell it to move. Like it won't like horizontally move. It may pan or it may yaw to try to keep things into perspective, but generally it's done with the payload. So if I go ahead and move,
It's so far away too.
yeah, and I can tell you that is 262 meters away.
Wow.
So is that distance from the drone, or is that like from?
That's
where-
from the drone. Yep.
So this has a rangefinder too.
Yeah, that's what I just did.
That's cool.
Okay.
Thank Christina, the owner.
The nice thing about the tracking feature, which I have on now, like I say, is 200 and some odd meters from the drone to wherever the truck is back here. Now, if I decide to fly, then it'll keep that object
Right in the sight.
right within.
So does this have the ability to keep a certain distance away? Like if the vehicle moves and you want to maintain a 200 meters distance?
That would probably be by the pilot. That'd be
love
by-
it.
Manual?
See the leg in it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just saw the leg on the camera.
Yeah, it's because
There's the leg.
yeah, it's because of where the payload is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I will say, there's a lot of where.
There we go.
So the
Yeah, I know
thermal.
what you mean, Yeah.
I have the ability, if you look on the screen, I can, so you're seeing what I'm seeing, by the way. So I have different color palettes, and I can do different temperature ranges within that color palette. So let's just go to iron red, which is kind of cool,
Yeah, that's.
right?
Canada was like,
I find that fascinating.
I did the ground school back.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So there's different. Iron red's pretty cool. White hot is pretty cool. There's Helitron, Arctic. So it depends on what we want. Depends on the situation. Depends where we're searching, whether it's in an urban setting, a rural setting. We were searching for a person out in the woods the other night or a couple weeks ago, and we had the side-by-side going on, and then it got too dark, which means the camera on the right is no longer good, so we went straight thermal. We're flying over a forest, and we saw a little heat ball, and it from 300 meters out, and it was a squirrel up a tree about 100. Yeah, it was up a really tall tree about 100 feet in the air. We saw coyotes, we saw deer, we saw 3 deer. One of them was being chased by a crow,
Wow.
and we see that
All on there.
all on the thermal. You can
That's
see the
sick.
crow coming down. You can see the deer going,
Wow.
oh my gosh, I'm
is
out of here.
sick.
Yeah, good bit of hawk. Yeah. So DJI will say this will get about 55 minutes. I think that's optimal. We usually get about 35. Depends on temperature. Depends on the wind. Wow. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It's under 25 kg.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure the exact one. And it depends whether you have the payload on as well, right?
And of course, the wind is fighting to stay stable too.
Yeah, so if it's a really windy day, like right now, like I said earlier, this tells me what the wind is, and it's only 11.9 K. East, the wind is going east at 11.9, so that's not so bad. But if I had 55 K winds, which seemingly we always seem to have at homecoming, or along with the snow, and then it gets cold, we're getting 25 minutes. The nice thing is we've got 8 batteries. So we cycle the batteries, right? So we bring it down. We can do a hot swap on this as well. So so long as you don't take both batteries, it's 2 large batteries. So long as you don't take both batteries out at the same time. So you remove one, put a fresh one in, wait a few seconds, remove the other, and then there's a little twist lock, and then boom, up it goes.
DJI has
45 minutes, but we can't charge. Generally, you can't charge your batteries right away. You gotta let them cool down. Yeah.
DJI has a docking station for their M30s, and where it's like it opens up. It closes.
Yeah.
Does that one
No,
have for
it's
that?
not for the 30. I think it's for the Matrice 4. I think the docking station, and they're in the 3rd evolution of the docking
Yeah.
station.
Does this one have a docking station?
No, the M300 doesn't have a docking station. Nope.
Because it closes up, has its own weather thing, everything. It just opens up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice. There are a couple police agencies that are trying that out in the States, having the docking station on the roof of their police station, and they are using it as a quick response. So if there's a robbery or domestic, they'll fly over, try to get eyes on that situation prior to the ground officers arriving to kind of get some situational awareness.
Right on the base and the docking, right? So on the police station.
Yeah, they're putting it on the roof of the police station. Yeah.
So basically, it's the old helicopter, police helicopter.
Yeah. Well, seemingly, like, we don't have enough money as an agency to have a helicopter. I mean, for goodness sake, Toronto Police doesn't even have a helicopter. There's just been a recent announcement, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, that the province is purchasing extra helicopters, and they're kind of share them around, and that's I think the only reason that Toronto is going to be able to have use of a helicopter. So, put that back down to the Kingston Police. We spent, what was it, this one? Yeah. $53,000. That's a heck of a lot cheaper than a helicopter. Plus, as far as upkeep, we don't have a lot of upkeep. Some new propellers, and yes, we have purchased some new batteries over the years. We've had to upgrade batteries. Batteries are only good for so long. It's a lot cheaper than an aircraft, the pilots and stuff like that, right? So we're lucky, as I said earlier, we commonly keep 2 drones with us. We have the M300, which is the one in the air, the M30, plus 8 batteries for each. That's pretty good bang for the buck for what we needed to do, and there's very varied tasks.
A couple hours worth, at least a couple hours worth of flight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Plus you charge a
If depending on the time of year and the temperature and stuff, if we've a couple of times we've cycled through all 8 of our batteries, and we haven't, because they have to cool down and have time to charge. But we're lucky though, if we're out of batteries for the M300, we could put the M30 in the air and continue. And we have had occasion at homecoming where we've had to have both drones in the air because it's a busy time for us. So there's something happening in one part of the city, something happens in another part of the city, so we need eyes on in different locations. And as I stated earlier, we've had Toronto Police, OBP, and some other police agencies come in, and we've got multiple drones in the air because it's such a busy time, right?
I assume there is no audio feed. Is that a limitation at all?
Yeah, we don't have audio.
Is that a limitation at all for you guys?
No. Somebody asked about the speaker floodlight combo, which we have for the 30, right? Yeah. So we've never had to use it. We've trained with it, but the other drone, the M30T, the smaller of the DJI products that we have, you can put a payload on the top, and you can either have pre-recorded or live audio from the RC to the drone, and it's quite loud. In a setting like this where we don't have a lot of city background noise, easily a couple hundred feet up in the air, you could literally hear me say, drop the cob of corn, step back from the cob of corn, sir.
No, but more so that it is not listening to its surroundings, is it?
It's not listening, no. And you know what, to the advantage of public safety, right? We're looking at something that would be in normal public view, and we're not looking into people's backyards unless a situation arose. But we're not getting audio either, right? So
For you guys, when you put your notems up for like homecoming and that, we actually post the reminder for at least us.
Yes.
That there is a notem up there.
Yep.
And help you guys.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of times where we've had small drones flying in our airspace, even though we don't have the NOTAMs. They're generally sub 250, but still it's a NOTAM, right? So, yeah.
Have you guys got annoying situations with drones interfering with you guys?
I think the closest we've had, I mean, at homecoming we've had a few. We've actually managed to track them down, find the pilots, and talk to them. I think the closest was we had a train derailment off Queen Mary Road, probably going on a year and a half ago now, I think.
And that's restricted airspace.
We actually had, that's restricted airspace. FYI guys, we always call the airport, right? And we actually have a VHF radio that we use to let the aircraft know that we're in the sky. But for that situation, yes, we call the airport. we were in the sky, and it was under the guise of public safety. So we don't need a NOTAM or an SFOC. We called the airport, we let the airport know, and what we were doing, we were flying over the train derailment because there was some concern about the chemicals that were contained within the rail cars and whether it would leak into the water. So we were using the drone and our zoom capability to zoom in and look at the coating on the rail cars so that we could feed that information back to let people know what was in them. While we had, I think it was this one, in the air, I happened to look, and there was another drone that was kind of more over Armstrong Road, so a pretty short distance away. Yeah, well, they weren't, as the crow flies, they weren't very far apart. Yeah, and I think we've had drones a few times at our collision scenes, but we haven't luckily had our drone up in the air, so there are some concerns.
Polar plunge is a biggie.
Yeah, there's yes. Hey, gonna come in for a landing, guys?
Advanced certificate.
Landing.
But the attack was developed by DOD